Hello and welcome back to another episode of Tea in the Garden. Is this our ninth or 10th episode? We're
10th.
getting up there.
It's
Yes,
10th.
we are at double digits now, guys. Today we have a very exciting story time for you. We are talking about our experiences in Egypt and our unique connections to Egypt. So if you are an Egypt fan like we are, this episode is for you.
So, we have a lot of cool experiences and insights to share with you about the spiritual connection to Egypt, what you can experience there, what kind of magic and codes and activations are there. And I want to start off with asking Savannah and Lauren, who have spent a decent amount of time in Egypt both. I have yet to go, although we'll be going in November with our retreat. We'll tell you guys more about that at the end of this episode. I would love to ask you guys what your most potent or powerful experiences were. Maybe you can both share a few of your craziest experiences there and favorite spots there during your times.
Do you want me to go first? Okay. So our most crazy experiences there, yes? Okay, so I've been 2 times, and both times were just absolutely magical, in my opinion. I get so much out of it. And so in both, I had similar but different experiences. So the first time I went with Savannah, and it was amazing. We went with a dear friend of ours, Anthony Profeta, who hosts many, many retreats. And we got the opportunity the very first day that we were in Egypt. We basically arrived, went to sleep, and woke up at 5 a.m. To go inside the pyramids, just the small group of us. And we did a meditation inside the king's chamber. And it was, we did the meditation from the Book of the Dead. And it was, I am an experienced shamanic journeyer. I've been journeying now for over 7 years. So I have really great experiences with it and really great results from working with journey work. And so anytime I meditate, it's almost automatically a journey. And I had the most vivid experience in that meditation as a shamanic journey and met with different entities and beings that I later worked with in the trip. That basically began my initiation back into the energy of Egypt that I needed for this lifetime. So that was number one, first and foremost. And anytime I work with any type of energies, I always work in reciprocity. So if I'm asking for something, I'm giving something in return. So I had asked in the temple of Isis, we get to go in all of the different temples as well during the Nile cruise. We go up and down the Nile and visit all of the sacred sites, all of the sacred temples. And one of those is the Temple of Philae, which is the temple of Isis. And so you take boats out there. It's on this little island where all these cats live in Isis's temple, and they'll take you all the way back to the inner sanctuary of the temple, where only the high priests and priestesses were allowed to make offerings to the goddess Isis. Now, in all these places, there are armed guards everywhere. And so, to protect, so you're not supposed to be touching the walls. You're not supposed to be touching certain things. And, obviously they're supposed to be in trying to protect things. So they're very strict. But at one point we got to go into the inner chamber of the Temple of Isis and put our hands on the altar. And you could literally feel the energy wafting, vibrating out of this altar. And I made a request, which later on was answered in a quite shocking way. And the following trip, I did the same thing, went to the Temple of Isis, asked for some specific things, and was given, okay, I need this in return. So again, that was another really great experience. And the thing that I had to give back was I had to sing to the Nile. So Savannah and I, later on in the trip, were on the Nile cruise, going down the Nile, and opened up the windows and sang to the Nile. So that was another great experience as well. So those are, I would say, are my top three.
I was singing the song. Sometimes all I think
So all I
about
think
is
about is
you.
you. That's the
And
song I
I
sang to the Nile.
feel you.
Same thing. I'm slayed. I'm slayed.
Ah, it was great. It was amazing. And everything I asked for both times, I held up my end of the bargain and she held up hers radically. So those would be my top three.
Oof. Wow. I provide further detail to your story before I
Please,
go in?
absolutely. You're part of it. You're part of the
Okay.
story.
So we entered at right before dawn in all white clothing to do ceremony in the Great Pyramid because that is what the priests traditionally did. We were following traditional Kemetic ceremony. So that was when the gods were thought to be stirring, when they were like the most awake. So when we came out, it was light. So like we went in, it was dark. We came out, it was light, and we actually were got we were not supposed to, but turns out in Egypt you can bribe almost anybody. We got in the sarcophagus, and so we did that meditation from the Book of the Dead, and it was probably the most time warping meditation I've done without plant medicine in my life. It was like 25 minutes and it felt like 2 minutes. And in that, and if you think that the pyramids are a tomb, I can confirm with you that they most certainly are not. Every tomb we went to, which was many, probably like 20 or 30 of them, every single square inch of wall had hieroglyphics on it because they wanted to leave as much instruction as possible. So the wealthier you were, the bigger your tomb was, and that was so that you had more space to write on the walls, so that when you were passed, you had the most amount of information to pass through all the trials and make it to the afterlife. On the inside of the Great Pyramid and the Great Pyramids, nothing. Completely blank walls. So we can talk about Egypt theory all day long. That's not what we're going to do in this episode, but
It was an initiation chamber, guys.
yeah,
Yeah.
both of us, I think, reported during that Book of the Dead ceremony. Because remember, we were following what the priests had done 3,000 years ago, like as much to a T as we could. Both of us experienced like shooting out our astral body, like shooting out the top of the pyramid and going on an upper world journey. And in that upper world journey, I actually still have the I note because I wrote it all down right afterwards. I wanted to remember it. Um, and I was, we landed at like 11 p.m. and we had to be up at like 3:30 to get there at 5. So I was very tired. My mind was kind of busy. I was trying to like mentally prepare and sort out. And this like peace just came over me as we're on the bus to get there. Cause this is the very first thing that we're doing. We landed hours before.
We hit the ground running. We basically had like
Yeah.
3 hours of sleep and then went to the pyramids
Hmm.
and then traveled all day long.
Oh yeah. It was a tour like that. So I just was like, you know what? I don't need to dot all my I's and cross all my T's and prepare in all these meticulous ways. I'm going in, and I'm trusting what happens happens. And our guide very lovingly put some frankincense on our third eyes and on our hearts. And then the biggest thing for me, I mean, I would have to give so much context about where I was in my life because this is September 2022. So much has happened. My entire Saturn return has happened since then. And I went to Egypt knowing that I needed to download the codes and get the activations for my Saturn return. And I'm so grateful that I did. My two weakest chakras have always been my solar plexus and my throat, and those were heavily worked on within the Great Pyramid. Yeah, it was amazing to see all the sights, and I can keep going on and on. But what was the most amazing, like Lauren described, were those moments of like initiation, like touching the temple at Philae, or touching the altar at Philae or the Temple of Isis. Um, when we got into the King's Chamber, so the Great Pyramid has three chambers. It has the king chamber, the queen's chamber, and then the subterranean chamber. And only open to the public is the king. And Lauren had mentioned that we bribed the guards and we were able to see the queen's and the subterranean. The subterranean one, y'all, let me get there because oof.
There's a pit that doesn't end. It just goes
It,
down and down and down and down.
yeah.
Yeah.
That
Which is
oh man.
crazy because you guys listening might have already seen the viral videos that have been going around the last few months about what
Mhm.
they found underneath the Great Pyramids, which was like this crazy amount of depth and coils and structures underneath the pyramids, and all of that happening. Like we don't even know what else is under everything, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, they have records of people disappearing from inside that chamber and popping up hundreds of thousands of miles away
Is a
somewhere
portal.
else.
Like
Yeah.
I threw a rock. I picked up a piece of rock in there and I threw it down the hole and I listened and I never heard anything. So that shit was deep. It was like an abyss, but um and it's kind of funny that there's like that lower world, middle world, upper world in there with the different chambers, and that's it. That's all that's there. That's all that's there. And to get to the chambers, you have to like it's like a 3 foot tall slanted either way corridor that you have to like lean over and trudge through. So it's not like it's you just walk in. You have to like kind of like crawl to get to any of the chambers. So, anyways, I worked with and met very viscerally Toth and Sekhmet, and I would continue to work with Sekhmet. I believe it was at Luxor. Correct me if I'm wrong, Lauren, where we again bribe the guards and we're able to see like an exclusive like holy site. And I met with Sekhmet then again, and oh, so much to say
Yeah.
about my relationship with that deity. But here's the
Well,
messages that I got. Go ahead.
can I tell a little bit them about that energy as well?
Sure.
Like very different. So again, got to go into the inner chamber of the temple for Sekhmet, and it was a statue, the statue that they would give offerings to. And I've seen a couple photos from inside here. So this is obviously like something that they get bribed for a lot. It does happen. But the photos that were taken, they're like see-through presences
Mhm.
that look like priests and those type of things. But when you enter in, there is a clear, distinct presence. I mean, there is something in there, right? And when you come in, you can really feel it. It's very visceral. It's very physical. Everybody got like physical sensations
Mhm.
and very, very strong energy. She was the goddess of healing and war, love and
Which I
war.
love.
So very much like heal who you can and take care of who you can't. You know what I mean? So very, very cool energy, very strong.
I think it's important to note that when the Romans, the Christians, came through Egypt, they defaced almost all of the goddess, like whether they were carved into a temple or they were a standalone statue, they were defaced because they believed that if you wiped out their face or a portion of their face, that the deity could no longer be present there. So they were like eradicating evil by their beliefs. So to find the fully intact Sekhmet sculpture was super, super rare. And that was what was in that like secret chamber. So here's what Thoth and Sekhmet told me in the Great Pyramid. Toth told me it's okay and even good to have my shit sewed together, counting beans, and that counting beans is a gift of mine, but to tread carefully with it, with discernment. And then Sekhmet, oh, this is so funny to read this because it was so revolutionary to me at the time, and now it's like completely fully integrated in the way that I live my life. She told me that my idea of going with the flow is all wrong. It's not about becoming careless. It's about stepping into your primal nature and following your instinct instead of always your mental thinking. That was a huge for me. And they also told, I think Lauren got this message as well. They told me that you're always as connected as you feel here right now. You're always there. That's always available to you. Um, and they both told me I have everything I have, all the blessings for what I'm here to do in this life. I already have them. And then Thoth went into my throat and Sekhmet went into my solar plexus. Oh, and yeah, that there's more, but that's the cliff notes. That's probably my craziest. There was so many crazy experiences. The Nile was incredible. The Red Sea was incredible. Every body of water, I was like, I was there. The water there is like it's holding, because water holds memory. It is holding all of the such powerful spiritual technology and information and codes, if you will, that all the temples near to it are have been putting off for thousands of years and continue to put off, because most of the temples in Egypt are along the Nile. That's why we do the Nile cruise, so we can go kind of pop in at all of them on the way up, because the Nile flows actually north. Didn't see any, did not see any crocodiles, but definitely stepped in a lot of camel poop.
I was happy not to see the crocodiles. I don't want to. I've almost
Wow.
been eaten by an alligator before, so I don't need to see a crocodile.
That's such a Florida story. Oh my god.
Man,
But those are some wild experiences, and it's getting me even more excited to get to go in November and have my own firsthand initiations. It's also, just to give a little context, one of the reasons we are calling our retreat Ancient Activations Egypt is because the point of it is, of course, to enjoy seeing the incredible history and everything that Egypt holds, but more so to experience initiation and activation at the deepest level, right? At the soul level, at the DNA level. And it is really inevitable, I feel, that you will experience that there, that I will experience that there, because it holds so much history, so much codes, and there's so much technology in the architecture, in the structures, in the land, right? In the knowledge that has been housed there for thousands and thousands of years. So, on that note, I would love to kind of get into a little bit with you guys in the next minutes and have you share more of the history of Egypt, like give a little context on what you know about the power, spiritually speaking, on Egypt and ancient Kemet, and what was happening there, and maybe we can particularly share about stuff that maybe isn't in the textbooks. Like there's a lot that people might have read and know, but what is it that like for example, the pyramids aren't really tombs, even though that's like such a normal thing that people are taught about them, right? And like a lot of archaeology has been outdated for a long time. So what you guys want to share about the potency of the land and the history there?
Yeah, so they're my favorite ancient civilization. So they are one of the first and definitely one of the biggest influences on culture today, right? The way that society is structured today. And they were extremely powerful, and they had extremely complicated religious systems. And yeah, but it was very beautiful. They were very advanced, much more advanced than people would even think of today. They had a lot of things that we have today. Go ahead, Savvy.
we got to talk about their technology. Our
Yes,
our Egyptologist and guide was very adamant that the
he's the best.
The Egyptians built the pyramids, not
Hmm.
aliens. And
Hmm.
there was so much lost. It makes me emotional every time to like talk about it. There was
Hmm.
so much lost in the burning of Alexandria. I really feel like that set us up to
Forget.
I forget, yeah. The burning of Alexandria, the atomic bomb, and before that, in the Industrial Revolution, has kind of like led us. Those are some of the canon events that have led us to living in such disharmony today as a society and globe. But I think that the pyramids were built with sound and vibration, that through those mechanisms, they were able to move these several ton bricks to form them. They just, they really had a grasp on how energy and vibration worked to build with it, to provide free energy, and to just do so many things for free for their society, um, through these free resources. They knew about light, frequency, obviously sound, and it was lost. It was burned to the ground in
Even water,
Alexandria.
even
Mhm.
water,
And water,
Yeah.
water, the
Yeah.
elements, right?
very
Well,
much
in
so.
the Temple of Dendara, they have the carvings of the light bulb, the
Hmm.
bulb with the snake inside of it. It looks like a light bulb. They also
Hmm.
have images of a submarine, a tank, and a helicopter,
Hmm.
all in the Temple of Dendara. Very, I
Hmm.
mean, undeniable what it looks like.
Which is
It's
where we are going.
wild.
We are going to be going there too, which I'm so excited.
Yes, yes,
If
we're
we're
going to be
talking
going to the
about
Temple of Dendara.
Dendara, we're talking about what light bulbs, submarines, helicopters. In that same temple is the first zodiac
Hmm.
system. So,
Inside that temple are also melted stone stairs.
and the way that they set it up, ugh, they were just so intricate. I mean, ancient Egyptian, they married true, real technology and the metaphysics in such an advanced way that we still are not grasping and still are very ignorant to how many years later. Like, I mean, the temple where they were writing on the walls about all these technologies, like how could they have had that? We invented that much later. I don't think that's right. I don't think history records that correctly. They also were charting the stars, and their gods lived just as complex lives as we did, and so did the constellations. Um, and so on, Dendara is also the temple of Hathor. Is that correct? Yeah. Um, on the ceiling was the original carving of the zodiac, which has like the signs we know today. That actually was taken out by Napoleon and now sits in the Louvre, the actual stone carving. The ceiling it was in is obviously still there, but it was stolen. So for all my astrology baddies and fans, if you want to see that and you're like, I gotta go to Egypt and see that, it's actually at the Louvre. Lauren and I stopped in Paris on our way to Cairo just to go see it, pretty much. Just
Yeah,
to
they
see
have
it
a
all.
replica. They have a replica inside the temple,
Hmm.
and they have the real thing at the Louvre.
The Egyptian government is still
The
trying
fact
to
that
get
that
back.
hasn't been returned yet is
Yeah.
wild. But then
Yeah.
The
again,
Oh,
Louvre,
I think they say
but
like
then again,
75% of Egypt's ancient relics
yeah,
have been stolen
yeah.
from other
And the thing,
countries.
even when I'm at museums in the States and I see certain artifacts that are there, I'm in my being, whether it is from Egyptian temples or sarcophagi, or it's the Hindu date like 6,000-year-old deities that were taken, I'm outraged. Like it feels so wrong. I'm like, I can't believe these are sitting in a museum, not being treated or held as they're supposed to be, right? Like it's just it's a wild thing, and still has not been no reparations have been made, which is crazy. And like it's interesting, and it's going to be so full circle for me personally to visit Egypt, because the book that started my entire spiritual awakening was Fingerprints of the Gods by Graham Hancock. And he's an archaeologist. It's not even like a spiritual text, it's a book about history and archaeology. It's literally, the subtitle is Fingerprints of Evident, or the history of Earth's lost civilization, and how humanity has been extremely intelligent and evolved much longer than modern archaeology is acknowledging, because it is a cult, just like everything has become. Archaeology has become a cult, science has become a cult, the medical industrial complex has become a cult. It's just as dogmatic as religion is now, because it is a boys club. It is a club of the same people. It is a club of the same people regulating and having holding all of the money, and the story can't change for them to continue to be where they're at. So they don't allow this new data and information to be shared. So what we're reading, not only what we're reading period in media, but then even more regressed, what we are learning in textbooks in schools is unbelievably outdated, and people don't realize this. You think you trust innocently that what you would be learning in school would have factual evidence.
Not even close.
Not even close. Most of it is pure theory, complete theory, and two, has already been disproven, but none of that information is being presented to us. So it's a really fascinating thing. And I think when we get the gift of going to these places, you get, obviously, one, a firsthand experience of that, and two, such deeper insight from the actual local people and cultures that have been holding the stories in their tradition, right, in their families for thousands of years, that know so much more about what's really happening there.
Man.
Yeah.
Oh, we could do, how about this? Our next episode, let's talk about History is Not Real, because I have so much to say. I
Oh, yeah,
will put on,
that title. We're gonna definitely
Yeah,
title
let's do that. That's
we'll
fun.
all go to our kitchen, get out some tinfoil, make a hat, and we'll
yeah.
show up and talk
We
about,
got, we got a lot to spill, people. We got a lot
yeah.
to spill.
I
Um,
think 90% of the history taught is complete bullshit or completely fabricated.
yeah.
Like it's a little bit true, but they shaped it a lot.
hmm They chiseled it a lot. They hit it a lot, and like you said, so much has been erased, and it
Hmm.
is heartbreaking. I mean, literally thank the gods that some hair has been preserved, and that is by, I believe, such divine grace or intervention somehow, that some enough was there for us to not entirely erase our memory as a species, although most of our memory has been erased. But like you said, all of Alexandria burned to the ground. All of
By Julius Caesar, who would later support the formation of the Vatican.
all of Nalanda University, the largest archive of ancient texts on earth in India, burned to the ground. And ironically, also, Julius Caesar killed Jesus. So interesting that like he was connected to that, and also to the execution of Christ consciousness, right, in the world. So, whew, there's so much there. I'm excited to talk about that next episode. So how about we round out this episode with ending with the question, like, what kind of transformation can happen to someone if somebody is considering going with us to Egypt this November, right, or has never been before, or even for me, what type of experience and transformation can be experienced in Egypt, in your guys' opinion and experience?
So I would say when you're in Egypt, you're getting a lot of the downloads, codes, healing, integration, all of that. And so it's like so much at once, that you're basically on this energetic, you're like vibing so high the entire trip that you actually don't see results or don't notice the change until you get back and
Mhm.
you actually like start to settle down. But what happens as a result of all of that stuff that you receive, if you're open to receiving it, of course, um, then when you come back, whatever it is that your intention was set on, whatever it is that you like intentionally wanted to work through or are working through or trying to level up on, that is going to skyrocket really, really fast. There's going to be really big, sharp change. And this is good in a lot of ways. And this can be a little scary in a lot of ways. And that's why I'm glad we're talking about it right now, because like it's almost that saying, like, be careful what you wish for. Because one of the things that I asked for was to remove any illusion in my life. And then
And tell us what happened.
I found out my partner of 2 years had been, cheating on me and living a double life the entire time I've known him. But then, that was so freeing and everything took off and I had a shit ton of healing happen and we joined forces and, our business took off, my career took off, my healing took off. And I moved leaps and bounds ahead, years in a matter of weeks.
I feel like I could not have taken the massive quantum leaps of my Saturn return and what's happened in the 2.5 years since going without having going. Without,
Mm-hmm.
like, I made a promise when we were at the Red Sea. We were at an all inclusive resort on the Red Sea. It was so magical. And we're out on this super long boardwalk at the end, and it's just me and Lauren. And do you remember what we agreed? Do you remember our new contract? We put in our retirement notice and we said, we're not going to work anymore. This was enough.
Mm-hmm.
We will be humble servants in our purpose, but we're not going to work anymore. We're retiring. You can figure out the rest for us. Thank you. Thank you. And in return, we will do your holy bidding from the Red Sea, from all the bodies of ancient waters, which is all of them. And yeah, it's worked out pretty fucking great. Pretty happy about how that's gone. Um, I would not have been ready to join forces in under Ancient Soul Gardens with you guys. I would not have been ready when my Prince Charming came and rescued me from my tower. I would not have been ready to move back to the States. I would not have been
Mm-hmm.
ready for all of the blessings that make up such a full and happy life that I live now. And all the course corrections that had to happen with so much ease because of how Egypt prepared my DNA, my energy, informed my auric field. So if you feel like you're on the precipice of taking a giant leap, making massive changes in your life, then I highly recommend going to Egypt first. It will just be the lubrication and initiate you into so many things, but I believe your highest timeline, especially if that is your intent and you work with the beings and the energies of the land with respect, that you pretty much can't not have a quantum leap in all areas of your life after going. It is truly a holy pilgrimage.
Mm-hmm. I feel like the energy, it's set up there. It's been there for so long, and people still pilgrimage to it. So I feel like it's there for those who are willing and open to accept it, right? If you go there with the intention of receiving it, it's there for you to receive. It is ready and willing if you are ready and willing. Um, so I feel like if you ask for it and you do what you say you're going to do, and keep it in reciprocity, it's going to happen. And it shoots you through that bottleneck real fast.
Mm-hmm. Hell yeah.
Ooh, so powerful. We are going to have the wildest, most beautiful, most powerful experience, and even more so with amplified with the ripest souls that I know are going to be feeling the pull to this, feeling the
Mm-hmm.
spark of this opening and this invitation. So let's talk a little bit about our Egypt retreat, guys. Can you give a little more information? And I'll chime in as well about what's going to be happening on our trip in November.
So yeah, we are leading an Egypt retreat this November 2025. Check the show notes or link tree, our link tree at Ancient Soul Gardens, our Instagram at Ancient Soul Gardens. Our spots are super, super limited, and the wait list is open and has many, many more people than we can currently take. But if you feel called, we want to talk to you. We want to talk to you. We're being just a little bit selective on who we bring on this journey because we have limited seats. We want people who are really trying to get the most out of this to be the ones to go. Like some people yeah, that'd be cool. It'd be fun to see. Like we want people who are a little bit more diehard than that. Like, like if we do like a prayer at the Nile, that they're not gonna be like, this is kind of weird. Like, no, we want the people who are gonna be like, fuck yeah, and can I do a prayer too? So that, yeah, check the show notes or all those places I mentioned for the information page. It's right in the middle of November. We are going during Scorpio season, which I'm very excited about. Very excited about, because if the ancient Egyptians believed the most important thing you could do in your life was die, and we're going during the season of death, and it is going to be amazing. The Sahara is not going to be terribly hot either at that time. So if you feel a call, throw your hat in the ring.
We are going to be going November 7th through the 18th. It's going to be 12 full days of traveling up and down the Nile, of seeing multiple different cities, all of the most powerful temples you can think of, the pyramids, the Sphinx. We're going to have a lot of fun little experiences like the boat rides, the sailboat tours, a spa at the Red Sea, camel rides, and of course, initiations and meditation processes galore. So it's gonna be wild. It's gonna be so magical, guys. The link for our waitlist will be below, and you can immediately drop your emails there to stay in the loop if you're interested in applying and being part of this amazing experience. Any last words, ladies?
I'm just pumped to go back. I can't wait. I'm ready.
Oh, also, I have one last note for everybody listening who might be interested. We are offering early bird pricing, $500 off the cost until May 16th. So a little over 3 weeks to get that discount. And we have payment plans available, financing options through Klarna. So you do not have to pay this big chunk up front. You can actually finance it across many, many months, even up to a year, depending what you get approved for. So lots of amazing opportunity available there.
Wow. Ancient Soul Gardens takes Ancient Soul Egypt. So excited. So thanks for watching, guys. Can't wait to see you in the next one, where we rattle off about all of the things in history we don't believe for one goddamn minute. That'll be our 11th episode, and we are, just to sign off. I gotta toot our own horn. If you want a 1% podcast, you only need 21 episodes, and we are like halfway there, ladies. So
Yeah,
let's keep it rolling. Let's keep running our mouths and yapping, and to victory be the spoils.
Yes. All
Bye,
right, guys.
everyone. See you next
Love
episode.
ya.
And that was Tea in the Garden.